Friendship is a word one must forget when crossing the threshold of politics. There is no friendship there. However, there is something even better, a direct economical and political necessity in each other. Good afternoon. Henry Keane is here delivering yet another portion of hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Ukraine wants to restore close relations with African states that were practically lost in the late 90s. This time it is no momentary need, but a well-thought-out policy of a strategic partnership. We seek to elevate cooperation to a new level where African countries see Ukraine as a reliable strategic partner offering a win-win cooperation. M.O.R.E, Kuleba, Ukrainian foreign minister, has visited Africa 4 times in the last 12 months. The New Horizons policy in the Ukrainian African Renaissance, initiated by the minister, is based on the obvious and quite simple principles: mutual respect and interests for the benefit, security and prosperity of our respective peoples.
We want to rewind the relationship that we had, the relationship that we lost in the late 19th because of drowning in our internal problems and the need to focus on our return to Europe, where we geographically, historically and culturally belong. It doesn't matter how solid your relationships are. Every single day that you have not been investing in them, you are losing them. No interruptions in relation between countries, like it is the case between people as well, because countries are essentially very similar to individuals. They have their own prejudices, principles, their own fears, ambitions and miscalculations of their ambitions. M.O.R.E Kuleba, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, in address to students of the University of Pretoria.
As part of its African strategy, Ukraine is looking forward to opening 10 new embassies across the continent and expanding diplomatic ties with dozens of African countries. The recent visit of Minister M.O.R.E Kuleba to South Africa is a systematic continuation of the New Horizons policy and the Ukrainian African Renaissance indeed. In less than a year, Foreign Minister M.O.R.E Kuleba visited an impressive number of African countries, such as Senegal, Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, Kenya, Morocco, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Rwanda, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, Liberia and South Africa. Ukraine welcomes the support of President Zelensky's peace formula by a number of African states. Oh, yes, we still do have our political goals and are working hard to align those with the needs and expectations of our strategic African partners. A good example, South Africa recently joined the efforts with Ukraine to help return Ukraine's children forcibly taken by Russia home, as well as the exchange of prisoners of war. The Ukrainian peace formula, consisting of 10 simple and clear elements, has all the potential to bring a just and long-term peace for Ukraine and is capable of significantly contributing to resolving conflicts around the world, including in Africa. Ukraine is a responsible partner and exporter of grain to the global markets. We proved that many times, even times of war. But it was better without it, of course. Until 2022, Ukraine annually produced food for barely 500 million people, boasting one of the most efficient and technologically advanced agricultural sectors in the world economy. We are able and willing to continue carrying out our global food security commitments, delivering food to Africa, what is one of the most important prices African nations can afford. We have quite an advanced experience in developing the IT sector, economic digitalization, cybersecurity, military-industrial complex, education, and you name it, many more. Ukraine can be a partner in technological evolution for African countries without risks. As a proof, the second International Summit on Food Security Grain from Ukraine took place in Ukraine on November 25, 2023. This summit has become a step forward in building the mutually beneficial relationship between Ukraine and African countries. Again, it is more than words about friendship and blah, blah, blah. It is way bigger and better partnership. Strategic, long-term, safe and mutually beneficial partnership. Russia prepares a new campaign of missile terror against the Ukrainian civilian population and infrastructure during the winter season. So far, the Kremlin has been accumulating cruise and ballistic missiles, using mainly kamikaze drones on its attacks on Ukrainian cities and villages. Over the last week, Russian terrorist troops have intensified drone and missile attacks on the Ukrainian energy, grain and other civilian infrastructure facilities. This may indicate that the new campaign of terror has begun. On Saturday night, I woke up at 3 at night because an air raid alert was blaring in the air. Russia sent 75 Iranian Shahed drones at us, just at sleeping cities, no military targets. 74 of the drones were hit by our air defense systems. They were downed. Despite that, two main transmission electric lines were damaged. Of course, our heroes from the energy sector repair, they are heroes. In less than a half, build everything back that day. But could you imagine what the damage could be if all the drones hit their actual targets?
On the night of November 25th, the enemy launched a record number of Shahed-type strike UAVs over Ukraine. In total, about 75 Shahedis were launched from two directions. The main direction of the attack is Kyiv. As a result of the anti-aircraft fight this night, 74 attack UAVs were destroyed by air defense forces of Ukraine. The vast majority is in Kyiv region, from the report of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine.
The risks for the Ukrainian critical infrastructure and the civilian population remain very, very high because of the significant destructive potential of the attacks and cruelty of Russian invaders. The aggressor state is awaiting freezing temperatures to resume mass missile terror on Ukraine's energy infrastructure to cause more damage to the civilian population and the economy. It will require great efforts to withstand this winter. Repair work has continued since spring 2023, and our energy sector traders have secured coal and gas stocks for the upcoming winter season. Ukraine demonstrates the rapid progress of critical infrastructure restoration. However, we need more aid from our strategic partners, equipment to decentralize generation of power and strengthen the stability and flexibility of our energy system, particularly generators, transformers and mobile heating systems. We also ask our partners to provide additional air and missile defense systems to protect civilian population and energy facilities. Ukraine's determination remains unwavering despite challenges. Maybe even because of these challenges, Ukraine remains steadfast in the face of Russia's orchestrated narratives of stalemate and fatigue exposing these deceptive tactics. The armed forces of Ukraine continue to dismantle the occupiers. Our society is resolute in its deep belief that justice will prevail and freedom will triumph.
I thank every warrior for everything you do for Ukraine and Ukrainians. I thank all the commanders who take care of the soldiers' lives. I thank everyone who helps to protect our country and people and who brings the expulsion of the occupiers closer. The Ukrainian people know how to achieve their goals when we all fight for this, for the sake of Ukraine.
The situation on the front line is changing. As we speak, Ukraine advances on the left bank of the Dnipro River in Kherson Oblast. All operations are carefully planned. We're not Russia, We value life as such. We value the lives of soldiers, and we have no right and will to turn them into cannon fodder in From Russia with Hate, Kremlin style. We stress out the obvious: fighter jets. Events of last month underscored the importance of aircraft for modern warfare. Ukraine expects the soon arrival of F-16 fighter jets that would help protect its sky. To win this war of aggression on behalf of the free world, Ukraine needs more air power, improved, advanced electronic warfare tech, and better counter-battery capabilities, as well as new mine-breaching technologies. That saves lives, that shortens the wartime span, that brings the victory for all of us closer. Also, during the last month, Ukraine, without any exaggeration, literally wrote history by numerously striking the enemy's Black Sea fleet and forcing it to behave really, really carefully in the temporarily occupied Crimea, let alone the Azov Sea area. Let me put that in easier terms for you. We in Ukraine have no military naval fleet at all. For the first time in the history of humankind, a country with no naval military force at all is not only defending itself in the sea, but manages to counter-offend effectively against one of the leading maritime states of the world. And as I probably already mentioned, among other things, we ensured the survival and success of the Grain from Ukraine initiative, which is instrumental for the food security of dozens of countries. Following Russia's unilateral breach of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, Ukraine just shrugged its shoulders and overcame all odds to open its ports to humanitarian shipping and establish a new grain route for food exports. Time for more on UATV English. And now the question of the week, no less. It was asked by the James Bond JB2YI himself. Does Russia need more land? Well, dear Mr. Bond, well, James, I was waiting for this question for so long. The answer is simple. No, Russia does not need more land. Well, take a look at the map. Siberia is huge territory, bigger than like 4 Ukraines, is it, taken together? Russia needs no land. However, Putin does. Putin is craving for a new beginning of the Soviet Empire. You see, he needs more, not only land, everything. More power, for instance. That is why he changed the constitution, amending it to his taste, as it is a, restaurant menu and not the nation's main manifest. Putin needs more war. Because war against Ukraine, because dragging attention to loopholes in international sanctions helps him to drag attentions from loopholes in his own domestic policy, which is completely failing. Go drive 50 kilometers from Moscow or St. Petersburg, and you will see why Russia needs no land. It can't arrange a proper living, even on the land it has now already. Russia needs no land but a cure from tsars and tyranny and dictatorship that is ruling it for centuries, from bloody Ivan Terrible to Putin the murderer. Unlikely to happen, of course. Russia needs not more land. It needs to understand that calling the West an enemy, and yet in the same time driving German cars, using American iPhones, wearing Italian clothes and going skiing to French Alps, but even needing no more land, Putin's Russia still wants more. But, by the way, about 18% of our territory in Ukraine is currently occupied by Russia. And this despite the fact that we are not a member of NATO and stand out on our land only because of the goodwill of you, dear world, of our strategic partners, and not thanks to any of international treaties that Russia just does not care about in any way. But every cloud has a silver lining. Again, Russia shows clearly that nowadays international law, let's put it mildly, does not work too well. More land for what? War? Terror? Because it very much looks like Russia is simply incapable of anything but war and terror. War and terror are a Russian way of life, you see. War and terror are core Russian values, you see. So tell me, if Russia would happen to have more land, what would they build on it? More war? More terror? But don't worry, the world has Ukraine standing for other type of human values. We only ask the world to do the same for Ukraine in return, for our global sake. It was Henry Keane breaking the hard truth in easy terms for you in our weekly wrap-up. Please find a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you think. Your opinion matters the most to us. Ask us a question, and next time in our weekly episode, I'll do my best again to answer it again. Stay safe. Tune for more on UATV English. See you very soon.